Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy early start to this nice hump day that we got going on right here. Bitcoin getting some hump action in the early mornings as we do smell a nice little red dumpola party getting started right there. But I wanted to follow up on the short-term time frame analysis and also thread it into the higher-term time frame analysis, of which we have another major piece of the long-term building that does still suggest that Bitcoin more than likely has a major low in right now. And while it can very easily come back down to the bottom side of this major range, I would still be looking for a greater bounce to emerge before potential continuation lower over the long term. Anyways, with that said, let's also talk about the HPDR. It is now live. I forgot to talk about that. I want you to know that if you had access to Caretaker's STC, the STC indicator that is, please email support@crowntrading.net with your username, your email on the app, and then your username on TradingView, and then also your receipt, and they will actually add that new indicator for you for free. And of course, that is available in the link in the description below. Anyways, without further ado, let's actually start off the analysis right today with the HPDR. In fact, I want to show you something that I think is rather interesting right here. So first and foremost, to follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis, we were looking at Bitcoin still within an overall range, that range between about 16,650 or 16,700, depending upon your exchange, all the way up to basically the highs of this rally thus far, close to about 17.5 or so. Now, with that said, we were looking for a pullback based off of momentum oscillators to the bottom side of the range. It's kind of where we're at right now, at around that 16,750-ish region. So far, the low at 16,650, actually exactly on CME right here. So now the real question is it fuck or not, baby? Is this my magical line? Is my magical line about to be lights out? Who the hell knows? But there is a very interesting setup going on right here from the HPDR's perspective. So the way that I look at this indicator is that if and when we do close below the bottom side of this more shallow blue range that my cursor is currently on right now, then we can start to look towards our volatility indicators to get an idea of basically, is this going to be a fake out or is this going to be a major continuation move? And the way that I like to do that is I like to look at the volatility indicators. In this case, I use the BBWP indicator and I focus specifically on the moving average. By the way, if you're looking for a more insightful explanation of this sort of setup, of this sort of indicator itself, check out yesterday's video. I did exactly that, but today I'll just go over the more important things. So in this case, yes, we see that it is still downtrending right here, which does mean that if it closes outside the bottom of the blue range, so that would be 16,650 or 16,667 if you want to be super exact. The indicator prints it right here for you. Then I would look towards volatility. If it's still contracting on the moving average, that would be a setup for a potential trap move. So as of right now, it's certainly a potential here, but obviously, we need to see this one close, and it need to close below the blue zone, which again is 16,667 on CME. And then we need to see, again, the volatility component. And at that point, I would be looking for, a pretty major bounce. In this case, I've gone ahead and back tested the results for you on the 4-hour time frame. And with that specific setup, 39 out of 50 iterations in the past were actually winners right there. So very, very high win rate. I did make a note on this particular one, though. Very good in bull markets, not so great, or certainly not as good in bear markets. And this is a bear market. In case you need someone to tell you, which you probably don't. Anyways, that move, however, the extent of that move typically does take, actually about a day and a half to play out on average. And as far as the actual percentage move that we'd be looking for from that, about 3.25 on average, with the first deviation plotted right here. And then obviously min-max for the moves. This would be the loss column over here. So a little bit greater losses, closer to 4%. But in this case, I probably didn't even show, the win percentage right there, as that obviously very, very important. So if you do see that happen, that would be a good indication that Bitcoin's probably going to put in a trap move here and move back up to the top side of the range over the next, basically between now and the end of the week or early next week, something like that would kind of make sense. So that's a major thing that I'm looking for as of this moment. But here's the thing: when we actually go into these charts over here, we can see a few things of interest. Now, for the pattern people, what do we have? We have the inverted head, it's not inverted, but it's a herp and derp right here. The old cock and balls, the old head and shoulders, and it is actually in the cards right there. Here's your left shoulder, here's your head, here's your right shoulder. You got a clear and obvious neckline coming in right around. Guess where? Oh, is that 16,700 number? basically, yeah, well, let's just align it with the bottom side of the 4-hour range right there. So 16,650. And then, of course, if we were to look at this from a volume perspective, just to confirm that this is actually, what we think that it might be, well, you do have declining volume from left to right. So yes, that would be a regular head and shoulders. And that would be confirmed on a breakdown of the neckline, again, below about 16,650 on CME, which CME is like pretty much at right now. So it's dancing around that exact level. So if there is going to be a bit of a trap move, you'd expect, maybe a slight down leg first, close above, and then kind of trade sideways, get really, really boring for the next few days at least, and then try an upside move after that. Anyways, moving on from there though, I should denote that yesterday we were looking at the 4-hour time frame and the 6-hour time frame as potentially putting in hidden bullish divergence. Obviously that did not get confirmed, as you can see on the indicator right here, but what did get confirmed and what does kind of help out the downside case from this region is the 12-hour time frame, which yes, did confirm the regular, not the regular, but the hidden bearish divergence in this case. If we accompany that with the volatility indicator right here, the BBWP, we can see it's extremely low. It's extremely low right now. So this kind of would be a bit of a setup for a breakdown of this region. Again, needs to close below the neckline, and then at that point we can actually have an implied move, an implied target, which brings us down to basically extremely low 16,000 bucks. And guess what? That is actually the next zone on the HPDR indicator over here, a little bit below there, more close to about 15.9 again on CME, but do keep in mind that, that's kind of what's at stake if Bitcoin does lose this level. Now, long term, I still remain with what I've been saying, that while Bitcoin could very easily come back down to the prior range lows from here, ultimately, I do think that those lows would hold again if that does happen to begin with. Long term, I do think that Bitcoin is more poised to bounce out greater from this region rather than make massively new lows from this region. And so obviously that would be invalidated if Bitcoin closed on new lows, which is not a fucking helpful analysis. But ultimately, the reason why I believe that is because of, well, what I posted on Sunday's analysis, which I won't go into on this video. I want to make this one a little bit more on the short side. Anyways, let's go and reference stochastic momentum, and then I want to speak about something that is actually potentially looking somewhat interesting long term again. Anyways, in this case, if we start off with the let's start off with the daily. Daily is still upside pivoted as long as Bitcoin's above 16,550 on CME. So you can see that if Bitcoin does break, even on the 4-hour time frame, we're probably going to see the daily fall through as well. Again, with extremely low volatility over here, that's going to be a setup for a move back down to the bottom side of the range. So very likely 16,000 bucks after that. Probably tries for a bounce somewhere around there, and then probably trades a little bit lower than that as well, towards those prior lows, somewhere around mid 15s, let's say. Moving on to the 12-hour, we can see that it is still downside pivoted as long as Bitcoin's below 17,100. 6-hour time frame is going to be same thing, 16,900 going to be the pivot right there, still down. 4-hour time frame still down as well, 17,000 bucks basically going to be the pivot, and the hourly is going to be also down. So we basically all time frames in concert here. And basically all pivoted around 16.9 to 17,000 bucks on CME. So that is to say that if Bitcoin can pop back above that region, then that would be a good indication that we are going to see a bear trap from this region. Very likely going to see, at least 17.5, more likely 18,000 to 18.3 is where I'd be looking towards. But ultimately, for right now, in the short term, if Bitcoin is going to break down, very likely happens from here. So I would go as far to say that in this next 24-hour session, if Bitcoin doesn't break down in this next 24-hour session, before our next talk, this very like one-sided conversation, then you're probably going to see a trap move from here. If you see a lot of stuttering around this region as well, that would also be another good indication that we're probably going to see a trap from this region. For right now, it's just potential. We see a bit of a setup, but it's not quite mature enough just yet. Anyways, moving on to the new stuff, or somewhat new stuff. Here's the 5-day chart. So we've been following this one for a while. We had a volatility versus stochastic momentum signature that fired off, basically early November. This one didn't work all that well, admittedly. It did make slightly lower lows after confirming, but not by a huge margin, I would say. In this case, well, I mean about 15% or so. But ultimately, what is now very interesting about this is that this same setup is actually about to confirm, or very close to confirm, that it's done, actually, which would be another sort of major brick within the long-term house that Bitcoin's probably putting in a major low here. I'm not calling it a macro low or anything like that, but again, I'd be looking for more long-term moves to the upside first before potential downside continuation. And as you can see, the 5-day time frame is now having a stochastic pivot at around 16,430. So right now, Bitcoin's trading about $300 above that. Obviously, if it fails on the short-term timeframes, that's going to come into question here. But that's another area to be mindful of in this next 5-day period. So it's obviously not going to be relevant today, but I guess this would either be Sunday or Monday, alongside the weekly closure. So if Bitcoin can remain above that pivot, again, another major indication that Bitcoin's probably going to head up above 18,000 first before anything else. Again, if it is going to come down later, I do think that it happens probably in 2023. Just personal opinion right there. Anyways, I think that's a good place to be leaving off on this particular video. Hopefully this was nice and short and sweet. I wanted to give some insight into the HPDR indicator over here. Again, keep your eyes on the closure, which again is coming in about 2 hours, 49 minutes and 53 seconds. And also the volatility rates. If the setup as we defined earlier gets confirmed, you're very likely going to see a bounce over the next 2 to 3 days, and actually a rather nice one at that, as we'd probably be looking to move back up towards 17.3, 17.5 region. Anyways, that's gonna do it right there. I want to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.